Show. What's in your cup?
A whole lot of everything, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody all around the world. Welcome to the best thing to ever happen to your entire life, okay? Your entire life, all of it, every aspect. You know what I'm saying? This is the Kickback Show, thekickbackshow.com. I go by the name of Foz, and she is...
Organic Blackberry, tastes like it sound like it tastes. And then he is, look at my nigga, get it. He is
DJ Swivel. Anything less would be unswivelized. And shout out to Tiana Giovanna. I sent her on a little getaway. She's sick and tired of these kids being cooped up in the house since COVID hit. So, you know, she's celebrating her birthday like away.
With no men and no bras. Period.
Yeah, and probably plenty of marijuana too.
There it is.
Let's go. That's necessary. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's necessary to understand those moments and to capitalize on them.
Like,
you know, and just run with it. That's
a
special thing, especially with everything going on. I mean, I know you mentioned, you know, COVID and family and all of that, and it's good to get away, but then to incorporate work, you know what I mean? That's a hardworking woman that also has to still be black, and still be a black woman, and then, you know what I mean, deal with society, deal with everything that's stacked up against us. I think it's important to acknowledge that and understand that black women and women of color, specifically Latino women, but black women need to have that. You know what I mean? They need that getaway. They need to feel that love, to feel that appreciation, and have the pressure and stress taken up off of them.
Yeah, and she was nursing up until literally about 10 days ago. Like we finally starting to wean the baby off the booby juice. So this is really like her first chance to get away for, you know, a couple of days and just.
Damn, she need to put them biddies on the shelf. She gotta just sit them down on the shelf and let them live for a second. Shit.
You know?
It's important. And then not to mention all the other stress that we deal with, you know what I mean? Especially seeing this, you know, our politics and everything in society, you know what I mean? Like,
and then having to be alone 24 hours, which people don't realize, like, just because you're around the world, you are alone 24 hours. So
in your mind.
Yeah.
Being cooped up on top of cooped up. It's just a lot.
That part.
It's powerful. And then it's powerful. And I want to take a moment if you're listening and or watching, take that time to put it into yourself. Self-love is very important. Give yourself those affirmations. Take a moment, find a moment to step away, get away from everything, even if it's just to your backyard, even if it's to the beach. I know it's tricky depending on where you are in the world. In LA, we can't really go anywhere. Nothing is really open, but find a way to get away, because Brandy is right. Like, it's mental. You have to live with yourself at the end of the day. So find ways to give yourself their love, you know.
And also, like, I would like for you, Foz, to explain to them, because you broke it down to me just recently. Every little thing, like, what is self-love? Let me not say every little thing. What is self-love? So I was thinking self-love meant I needed to go buy a $1,700 package and get a spa retreat and shit. Like, what is self-love?
You know what? That can be self-love.
Yeah.
That's self-love, but I think it's more about the principle. So to be more specific, if you go do that, if you go do this retreat and however much you pay to get away, if you get to that destination and your mind is still stressed, your body is still feeling that way, or when you come back home, you're still bearing all of that pressure and stress, you didn't accomplish anything. You just spent money on something.
Like,
you know what I mean?
The physical went to another location, but the mental was still back where all the stress was, and
Absolutely.
That's not how you're getting it done.
So self-love is a everyday. It's a full-time job, but it's more of a revelation. It's a level of consciousness that we seek to achieve, in understanding that no matter where I am, no matter what I'm doing, I'm worthy, I am at peace, I am loved, I don't need validation, and I'm not searching for any of those things in external devices. Whether it is a vacation, other people, my job, my possessions, I don't need any of those things to define that I am great, that I am worthy, that I'm spectacular, that I am going to get this job, all of those different things. And it's giving yourself those words. It's showing yourself the same amount of fervor and attention that you would give somebody else, or that you would require from somebody else. It's putting it all into yourself. So, I highly encourage any and everybody, if you're feeling at a place of, where your frequency, your vibration is low, that text message that you about to send somebody, send it to yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like,
okay, not take a beat. Send it to yourself.
Send it to yourself. Like, take a moment, send that to yourself. Like, before you give off some energy, go look in the mirror and say what you was about to say to somebody else. Say that to yourself. Yo, you fine. Yo, you are gorgeous. Yo, you are beautiful. Yo, I love the way that you just did that. Yo, I love how you you wake up in the morning. I'm proud of you. That's all self-love. It's you giving yourself that frequency.
I heard that they said, like, it's not treat your brother as your neighbor. Wait, no, treat your neighbor as your brother. I'm not religious, but they were saying, like, it's not treat them as you would treat yourself, it's treat them as they are you. So it's like, it's almost that additional step to be able to understand the other individual.
And you know what? I'm glad that you brought that up, because I did grow up religious, and you reference. Well, I would reference the Bible because it's mainly the only scripture, like only text that I'm familiar with. Mm-hmm. What you just said was very profound, because in the Bible it does say love your neighbor as you love yourself, right? And part of that is, you wouldn't steal from your neighbor. You wouldn't do anything to cause them harm, right? You won't steal from them. You won't harm them. You won't kill them. You won't, you won't do anything that will cause them any type of hurt or pain. A lot of times we don't put that back into ourselves. We steal joy from ourselves.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we inflict harm in ourselves, and and most of the time it's all mental. We get into these, and I'm guilty of it too. Like, I've gotten to points of depression, all because I was exerting so much energy and wasn't feeding myself. And I was operating from a cup half full or empty. And I wasn't putting that energy, you know what I mean? I'm sending a text message, making sure everybody else is good. Yo, how you feeling? How you doing? What you up to? Yo, you got it. And I'm not telling myself that. Meanwhile, when I go to create something, or I get into my thing, I'm not giving myself that same energy of those affirmations. I'm not getting past that doubt. You know what I mean? The same thing that I'm telling somebody else, I'm not preaching to myself. And ultimately it can hurt you in the long run, And so you're absolutely right. And I love the fact that you brought it up that way, of loving your neighbor as if they were you, because then that puts a different spin on it. You know what I mean? Because then it makes you reflect, am I truly loving myself?
Yeah, it's like the way you just put it there, Foz, like kind of reminds me, like, and we've touched on it before, like, especially Tiana's mentioned it, how like 2020, at least for us as with our family, like, hasn't been, or wasn't a bad year per se, for the most part. I mean, obviously there's a lot of things that sucked that happened in the world, but like for me personally, in all that I give out as far as affirmations and positivity and all that, and encouragement and all that kind of stuff from my coaching, by the time I come home, I'm just so like mentally like drained and spent. And so like, there was probably like 2019 where I still started to try to make like a conscious decision, like to make sure like I'm giving my family that same kind of attention and encouragement. Because when I was coming home and I just wanted to, like, you know what I'm saying, like just be left alone and just like vegetate for a little bit, but to the detriment of my family, right? But with COVID and everything, like, being home a lot more often has given me like way more time to like invest into my kids and into my wife. Like, so it's that blessing in disguise as far as being able to like now make sure like they're getting, you know, above and beyond the amount of attention and affection that they deserve. And now still be able to like give the right amount to my athletes. And for me personally, like I'm even starting to like take away a little bit from social media or TV or whatever the case, just so like I can put that into myself, like take that time to, you know, give myself those same affirmations.
I have a little phrase I say when I know I should be doing something else. It is, what am I avoiding by doing what I'm doing right now?
Say that again, because that's a bar.
What am I avoiding by doing what I'm doing right now?
Message.
Real talk.
Right?
Real talk.
I think that if people were to tap into themselves more, they probably wouldn't, and I can't say wouldn't care, because you're going to care so much about yourself that you're not being negative in the world, right? But I would say like they wouldn't care so much about other shit. So like when I'm watching the verses and I'm in the group chat and the homegirls are like, oh my God, I'm so team Ashanti because I can't believe Keisha Cole. She's so annoying. I can't believe, like, I'm like, what are y'all even? She just sat down. Just like literally, it's been 4 seconds. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? But it's like, you know, people can only love as much as they love themselves.
Was there some? I didn't even get to see the verses between Keisha Cole and Ashanti. Was there like some drama or some beef that like kind of sparked because of it, or what?
No.
So I watched Ashanti. I'm gonna let you tell them what happened, John Foz. But I watched Keisha Cole's live, and it's just basically she was there the whole time, but her visuals weren't right, and so OT Genesis was like, you shouldn't do this shit, like you need to have them fucking fix that shit. So she waited for them to fix it, and so then she sat down. So she was a little irritated, but it was because of the outside situation, and everybody's like, she's drunk, she's sauced up, all of that. So you can give him the spiel as to what happened.
A green screen or something going?
Oh, me?
No. Keisha Cole, because you said Brandy said the visuals weren't right, so like she wasn't really ready to do it.
No, the when I say visual, I mean the internet connection. It was really pixelated, bad. It was bad, like super bad.
I got you.
For at least 40 minutes, it was bad.
Dang.
Yeah, they was talking shit about her for being late, and it's like, well, we were clearly watching how bad her little chair looked.
Which is wild, because you know I have an unfair advantage being that I'm in that building, which is Apple Music, but seeing the stream for me was A1 on Apple Music. So I didn't experience any of those issues that some may have experienced on.
I was on YouTube.
I was gonna say YouTube.
Yeah, if you were watching your device, there was no issue. Well, when I went on Instagram, though, her shit was pixelated on Instagram.
And it's the thing that's tricky, and I'm glad that you brought this up, because one, I thought it was an amazing versus. They cracked 1 million. They hit 1.1.
Yeah, I saw that
at one point. Which, shout out to the women who have continuously killed it.
Yeah, Black
women, these Black artists, Erykah Badu, Jill Scott, Patti LaBelle, Gladys Knight. Who am I missing? Brandy, Monica, now Ashanti and Keisha. You know, have been consistent with raising the bar on what this is. You know what I mean?
That's that Black girl magic.
Black girl magic for sure. So there's that. But one, it was supposed to happen a while ago. It's been postponed a couple times due to Ashanti allegedly contracting COVID. and other things, you know, and then being that we're under this current state, right, of not being able to be in the same room and testing and things of that nature, or running the risk of coming across this pandemic, things have been modified, right? To where at one point, you know, with Beanie Man and you know, Bounty Killer, we saw them in the same room. That changed the dynamic, which was dope, right? But then now we're not afforded that luxury because of spikes and different things of that nature, and wanting to be aware of what's happening. So if an audience isn't aware of that, that's one thing, right? And it speaks to your point, Brandy, of people being aware and being in the moment and looking at things through a clear lens. So if you're looking at it as, oh, this was supposed to happen, you know, last year, this was supposed to happen a few months ago. Boom, it's supposed to be this. And then you have your expectations of what it's supposed to look like, and that not happen to, you know, clearly she was a little bit over an hour late. She was there in the building, but there were other things that were happening behind the scenes that, you know, led to technical difficulties. When she came on, it seemed as though that she had what most call an attitude, right? Which goes into this conversation that we have about Black women having to bear all of, you know what I'm saying? Having to put on a smile when they don't need to, or, you know what I'm saying, without people understanding what's happening. Now, granted, there's an expectation of coming on and being in good spirits, and this is being a celebration, and there's this brand that Timberland and Swiss have built up. But I think that it's unfair for an audience to automatically jump out the window to say, yo, why she got an attitude with it. It's like, number one, she from Oakland.
Right?
Man, that's why I'm like, nigga, she threw up West Side singing a ballad, my nigga. She's a real motherfucker, a real one.
That's just who she is. Keisha Cole, and she speaks for a lot of Black women. They're different. They different. They not gonna always be smiling. They not gonna always be happy, go giddy, and whatever. Like, she's.
And that don't mean that they mad though. That don't mean that they mad.
It doesn't mean that she was added, you know. And granted, we as individuals will always be competitive, right? There's always gonna be a little slight thing. The moment that I found out Swivel was cutting his own hair, it made me say, like, oh man, I gotta get my bro. Hold on, wait, what? You doing what? Oh man, hold on, let me. You feel me? And that's my brother. Like, there's no shade, there's no spite, there's nothing negative that came with me saying that. If anything, it was iron sharpening iron. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was him making me step up on my game to say, you know what? Let me get my life together. Let me step my game up, because I want to be on that level of, you know, being dapper and being, you know, refining my skill set. You know what I'm saying? So with them being musicians, it's like, yo, we here to celebrate our music, whatever, but there was other things that were happening behind the scenes that I don't think people were aware of that were leading to that. At one point, her sound wasn't coming in correctly. Like, she wasn't able to hear herself, right? So she was trying to signal to them, like, yo, turn my microphone up. Like, I can't hear myself. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's another thing. So it's a number of different things.
Correct me if I'm wrong, then, like, you know, of course, like, there shouldn't be the stereotype of like the angry Black woman in that situation, because it sounds like she was well within her right to be angry and frustrated.
Well, nobody knew though. Nobody knew that she was there the whole time. No, they just thought that she was pulling up late. Like, nobody knew that she was there sitting. So her thing, she kept apologizing on her live. Like, I was there. I should have just sat my ass down and just not recorded. I could have just told them, we're not going to start, but I'm going to sit down to let y'all know that I'm present. But it's like, my personal thing is, I feel like on a professional level, I get where everybody's like, oh, professional wise, but then it's like, through COVID, nothing has been the same. So like the understanding portion is like, that's where it's like, take whatever it used to be, that shit got to go out the window, because it's not that no more.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, we all learning during this time and we're adjusting to the times, and simultaneously, like, technology ain't what it, you know what I mean? It hasn't met where we are.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
I'll be watching the news, CNN, NBC, whatever the case may be, and it's like I can't tell you how many times I'm watching them do like interviews, which these major news networks have been doing these types of like conference call interviews, these Skype interviews, these, you know, Zoom interviews for years. Yeah. But like the delays and the technical problems for whatever reason seem to be ramped up since COVID came about. Like, and it's like, yo, you've had the technology and the capabilities for that. It's not anything new, but for some reason we still have,
we still not giving each other passes. Like, I don't get it. Like, it's like, it's not even, because I don't like to talk bad about my people. I don't subscribe to that. But there's a level of accountability that has to be had before I will listen to you in any way. So it's like, I don't even want to hear nobody talking no type of shit when it's like, have you ever sang for 1 million people, nigga? Like, do you know what that type of nervousness looks like?
Especially when you have a brand, especially if let's say she did sit down and started to sing and her sound wasn't right and everything was right, people would have still been talking on some, we waited 2.5, you know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of it all, Keisha was ready to go 2 months ago when this was first scheduled.
Right.
Let's talk about it. You know what I'm saying? She wasn't the one that COVID. She was ready. When it's, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's keep it there. And again, no shade towards Ashanti, much love to the queen, but let's, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's not.
Because if we want to really pick, because it's like at the end of the day, the shit was still, you know what I'm saying? Well, it was in one space, but it kind of looked as if they weren't in one space. So it's like, well, shit, if that was the case, you could have did it when you had the COVID like you wanted to.
And truth be told, you put everything aside, these are individuals, right, that are taking time out to do something that they don't need to do.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like Swiss and Tim didn't need to do this. And granted, it's blown up to the point to where you have partnerships with Revolt, Apple Music, Ciroc,
right?
Doritos. Is on this one. You know, you had Wingstop when Rick Ross did his, right? Like, you have these artists that are bringing in a high volume of attention towards their brand, and they don't need to.
Right.
Like, these are well-established artists. Like, granted, it's giving them a boost, but it started off as entertainment for us sitting at home, searching for something. You know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of it all, it's like, yo, let's be patient, because things are still getting worked out. And until we can get to a point to where we have a server, we have a platform that can manage 1 million people watching at one time. Like, technically, we broke the internet several times.
Several times.
Yeah.
Instagram wasn't ready for this.
No.
They still not ready. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were not ready for people to go live. Like, it's different when I go live and have 7 people. It's like, I don't have no issues. We talk about 1 million plus several times.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's happened several times.
Even a few 100,000. Like,
I'm saying.
Yeah.
At one time. It's not ready for that. You know what I'm saying? So, let alone the queen showing up and being there and wanting her brand to be at excellence. Any and everybody should want that. Like, granted, there are compromises, but at the end of the day, it's like, look, if I'm gonna be putting myself on the main stage and my reputation is at stake, despite how well I can sing or my accolades, this can ultimately destroy. This could destroy my reputation or my brand. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it is.
I'm gonna just say they both sang their asses off though. I ain't gonna front. I was like, yes. They ain't hold no bar. I was like, yeah, we screaming today.
Absolutely.
We screaming today.
Showing that love and showing the love to one another. You know what I mean? Loving each other and even going through the ups and downs and the hardships and all of that. So, you know what? I think it's only right that we continue to show them queens some love. Swiv, if you can, you know, for those that missed it, you could definitely check in. Go to Apple Music, go to whatever your vice is. I'm gonna say Apple Music because squad. But you know, go ahead and check out the verses. In the meantime, let's give the people a little taste of some Keisha Cole. Give them some Ashanti, all the hits that we've grown to love, and, you know, celebrate these queens for another successful celebration of Black excellence. You know what I mean? And then Let's come back and talk some more about it. You know what I mean?
All right, it's still West Side though.
It's always, every day. This is the Kickback Show, the kickbackshow.com. You already know. Snitch.
Don't miss a beat. Kick that beat. Follow us on social media at The Kickback Show. Kickback on everything. The Kickback Show. What's in your cup?
Always a whole lot of everything. Go ahead, Foz. Let us know.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Kickback Show, the kickbackshow.com. Talk to me. What's happening? I'll talk back.
You so glad about what?
No, I see. Talk to me. I'll talk back.
Okay, yeah. So you know what? I'm glad you're gonna talk back because how can I put this? I'm not offended. I just want to know, like, what do you guys think as men? Like, I want to know if this is a valid thing, and then I also just want to get your general reaction. So I meet this guy, and he's higher in age than I am, and so I'm just asking him about like his experience with women, like, you know, and he chooses to tell me that I told him like I'm 30, and he's like, "Oh, that's the perfect age. I like 30. That's right. Ripe and right. I'm gonna change it. I have to throw ripe and ready." But he like, "That's right. I like that's the perfect age." And I'm like, "Okay, so what do you mean?" He like, "Yeah, you know, as experimenting as a man, he realizes that he likes 30, like in the 30s, like that's the ripe age because he said that you're young enough to still be, you know, young and pop, but you're old enough to have gone through some shit and know how to navigate."
I can.
Bam. That's all.
That.
Just throwing that on your forehead.
Just throw that thing on the forehead. Whoa, wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Can you buy me dinner first? I mean, shit.
No. It's COVID. I know. I can't.
No, I can see where he's coming from in terms of like you know, still young enough and like wanting to go out and do things and explore and all that kind of stuff, but at the same time, like you're not in your ignorant, you know, early to mid 20s where you're still trying to figure yourself out and life out, and you haven't really gone through probably some heartache and some serious dating, you know.
But you're not 30 though.
Me?
You're not 30. The person, you're not 30.
But he's been 30.
Okay.
Been his experience, you know what I mean? And then needless to say, he's probably come across women that are in their mid to late 20s. You know what I mean? Depending on how old he is. But I believe it is one of those things to where when you're in your 20s, society has made us believe that you're supposed to be accomplished at 20. When really you still you still figuring things out.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I turned 25 to where I was like, what do I want? You know what I mean?
Right.
And really started like traveling and getting into the things that, you know, digging back into that self-love, right? Like figuring out what I believe and what is it that I want to eat. Let me go try this food and let me go over here. Let me try this city instead of doing X, Y, and Z with the homies. Let me grab some wine, you know what I mean? And bring it back to the tilt. Let me do something that's what we classify as grown and sexy, right? Yeah. Whereas, and needless to say that just because you turn 30 doesn't necessarily mean that you mature automatically, because there are people that are in their 40s, maybe 50s that are still institutionalized or still have that same mind frame. But in your 20s, you're more susceptible to explore and have that freedom, and you're still figuring things out. Whereas when you get to your 30s, it's like, all right, I've moved past that. I'm now in this space to where maybe I might not necessarily be looking for anything serious or stable, but I'm not giving my energy or time to anything that's immature. And I'm out.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So to be transparent, like I'm understanding. So I don't allow myself to go places that I don't have facts with, right? But initially when I heard that, it's like, okay, so if you're 60 and you only like 40-year-olds, like
maybe he feels 40.
How you get to pick 40 and you 60?
Maybe
it depends on who he's dating. If clearly it sounds like, and I mean, not necessarily.
They dated older and younger, and they've chosen that that's the sweet spot. They like that shit.
So for me, with my experience, I remember being 25 at one point and dating women that were as young as 22 and dating a woman that was as old as 50, right? And then everything in between, coming across women that were in their 30s and women that were in their 40s. There was a stark difference between the 22-year-old and the 35-year-old.
Yep.
And then there was a difference between the 33-year-old and the 42-year-old, right? And so, needless to say that everybody is different. Like, you know, you have to date everybody in the world to get a very accurate account for your data. But at the end of it, it's like, clearly, if you are a 60-year-old or you're 50 years old, you kind of already have a clear understanding of what you're looking for. And you know that somebody in their 20s is going to be more on the lines of, hey, my friends are going to Vegas, I'm trying to go turn up. Whereas somebody in their 30s are like, I've been there, I'd rather go to a lounge. Or let me come over, cook for me, and let's be grown and sexy.
Whereas, that one right there to cook for me.
That's what I'm saying. Whereas a 40-year-old, hypothetically speaking, may be on some like, let's skip all the bullshit. Where's the room? Let's just get it popping. You ain't got, I already ate. What's happening? You feel what I'm saying? like where's that? You feel me? So it's like understanding that. And again, this is all subjective. But it's one of those things to where if you're judging it based on maturity level or just a like if your bar of intelligence is on a scale of your age, I think that's what he's judging it based on. Granted, he's lived through his 30s, you know, I'm assuming, and probably in his 40s or what have you. But it's one of those things where it's like, I remember when I was 30, what the women were on. Or I remember when I was in my 20s, what those women in their 30s were on. When you reach a certain age, if you tapped in, then that's where your mind is.
Yeah.
Level of maturity.
Yes, I remember being like 28. I think it was around like 28 years old, 29, somewhere around there, and like still having younger ladies like 19, 20, 21, like, you know, approaching me or whatever, and just like you know, I could see the immaturity like right away. And like, nah, like you're interested in everything, but like, nah, I'm not going back to that. I'm not going backwards.
Yeah. When you in your 20s,
I don't want it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want it. I don't need it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think the youngest, when I was 26, 27, I think the woman, the young lady that I dated that was like 21, 22, she was mature, but it was like, you could still tell like, oh, you have much more learning.
Exactly.
Like you know, like you think you have it figured out based on where you at. And I don't want to demean what you've been through, but just where I am and what I'm looking for and where I'm trying to go is you got a lot to go. Whereas and women in their 40s.
You know, the sex drive goes up at 30.
For women?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, look, he said, nah, that's what the science says.
Well, I guess it just depends on the woman then, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it do, because I definitely can say that I can't say I'm not a sexual person, but like, I don't get turned on like that. Like, it's more to me, it's bigger than that. But I can say after turning 30, I'm like, it's you know what I'm saying? It's a little different.
Because I mean, not any female that I was messing with at the time, but like a good friend of mine, she was like between her like 35 to 40, like she was like, man, my sex drive is just as high as if I was, 19, 20, 21. Like, so.
Oh, she was out here fucking. I wasn't fucking at that age, so she was out here getting it in. Women naturally like that, our sex drive goes up at 30. That's a fucking scientific thing. So, she was out here getting it the fuck in. Yes.
I mean, you never know. It's interesting though. I mean, I think it's all trial and error at the end of the day. And I think it's important to just stick to absolute truths and principles that matter. You know what I mean? And granted, again, there is a level of maturity and understanding and growth that comes at a certain age. Same can be said about men. If anything, men take a little bit longer to get to that understanding, depending on
Hell yeah.
who it is.
Hell
you know
yeah.
what I'm saying? But
hell yeah, ladies. If you are dating someone right now, your age, babes, you're raising him.
Talk about it.
And you know.
I don't know. Because he could be older and she could still be raising him, depending on who it is.
You're right about that one. There
Yeah.
it goes. There it is there. Message.
Yeah, listen. I'm a firm believer, and I'll just say this. Follow those absolute truths. You know what I mean? Like, if you find somebody that's treating you right, that's, where that meets you intellectually, spiritually, and physically, you're attracted, you're compatible, and all of those things, go for it. See where it leads to. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And granted, it may be somebody older, it may be somebody younger, but I think that's the key thing is.
Can I ask one more question? Because you know, guys, I got all the questions. Okay.
Yeah.
I was working this event one time, and I was doing like, y'all know I do a little bit of business development management, and so I'm assisting someone in their event. And the event, when you buy tickets to events, you got to commit to that event. Like, you buy tickets, you're gonna go. So I received that you buy tickets, you're gonna go. However, when I was working it, I was noticing that it was pretty sweet. Okay. So I ended up meeting someone, and I didn't get a sweet vibe. That's why the contacts were exchanged. But like it was very sweet, like nail polish with 8 girls, like kissing on them and stuff. I don't know, ladies, how y'all, y'all into that. But my question is, if you get there and you see it's a little sweet as a man that you are, like a jazz event, like, would you stay or would you go? Like, when you notice, like, you're a single man, you looking to hear a little jazz, probably catch a little ass, but you can't catch the ass. You gonna stay for the jazz?
Personally, I would.
Okay.
I like jazz music. It's one of them things to where, again, I'm a firm believer, follow your heart. So if your heart is telling you to get up out of there, you know what I'm saying? If your heart is telling you, you know what, it's the music, let me just be in this moment, be in that moment. But if the energy and the vibe is telling you something different, follow that. You know what I mean?
Received. Ashe.
Yeah, I guess like I was kind of in a similar situation when I was like early in my DJ career. Like there was a dude who owned a record store way out in like Riverside, and I used to go out there maybe like once a month to buy records. And eventually he told me, he's like, yo, I come out to Orange County like every now and then, just let me know like what records you want to buy. Like, I'll bring them with me. That way you don't need to drive out to Riverside. So I'm like, cool. I met at the spot he was DJing at, right? And I got there early. There's hardly anybody in there. And then, so I'm just hanging out because like, yo, he's the DJ. So I'm gonna hang out and watch him do his set, right? And there's just like nothing but dudes like coming in there. And like, I'm like, I didn't really catch on what was happening until like a few of the dudes went out to the dance floor like together. And I'm
together.
Like,
oh my God.
Wait a minute. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and get those records that I came to get, and I'm gonna go ahead and skate. Like, but it was one of those like, because I was young, like, and never really been in that situation before, especially being caught off guard, right? Like, I didn't necessarily know how to like handle it.
Yeah.
But then since then, like, I've had guys, again in my younger days, like, not come to me directly, but like would send a message like towards me or to me from like a friend or whatever, like, yo, trying to figure out like what side
you was
I'm
on
playing for, right?
Damn, you a pretty nigga, Swift.
So, but then at that point, like I knew how to be like, I appreciate the compliment, but like I'm batting for the other team. So like, and as long as they weren't being like disrespectful, like why would I be disrespectful back? So you know.
No, I asked the dude. He's definitely not, and he didn't. You know, when you're not looking for that, you don't see that. So he wouldn't. Right. He didn't see. Oh, it was this. You know, sweet to you, it's regular to me. But I just wanted to hear from men that I know. Like, would you stay or would you go?
Yeah.
Like now, like I would stay most likely, because like I would know how to, you know, politely and respectfully be like, you know, like I'm not a part of that life. You know, but
I've had advances at me too, and it's the same thing. Just like, bro, like I'm good. You know what I mean? And there's a way to be respectful about it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. Like I've been with coworkers that were some baddies, women that wanted to go to like a club that, you know, is a part of that lifestyle. And it is what it is. Like I'm very secure with who I am. And it ain't what, you know, a lot of people think that it is. It's not like it's not like that community just gonna run it. Like they know who's who.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like they know who's who and who's there for what. You know what I'm saying? And you know, love is love. But again, it's one of them things to where, again, follow the energy.
And then also, so that's on the guys' end. I'll speak for the women, because I was in question at the time. And so I spoke to my sister and her husband, and her husband immediately stops me and was like, how about you ask him instead of making up all, like asking other people what's the question. Like if I was a man, I would just want you to ask me. And if I'm a real man, I'm gonna just tell you. If I start getting in my feelings about it and all this other things, then you know that you might want to look at how they're reacting to it, but just ask. So women, and I did, and it was easy. You know what I'm saying? Like, just fucking ask. We don't got to ask all the homegirls and all the sisters. And nobody's going to know except for the person. Just ask the person.
And women do that. Like, I've been in that situation to where a woman was expecting me to make a pass, and I was being a gentleman, ended up going home instead of, you know,
right.
And she asked the mutual friend that got us connected if I was, and she shared with me. It was like, nah, he's not. You just, you know, maybe you just, you know, he's gonna be a gentleman. So in order if that's the time you want, either tell him and she did. She made herself available, and I obliged.
Okay.
I Mary J obliged.
Got it. I knew you loved her some way. I knew there was some sort of love there.
You know, I love her. I talk a lot of trash, but how about this?
Definitely a part of our history.
How about this? Let's play some music.
Oh my God, this nigga would.
No, I'm saying let's play some music.
Let me guess. Mary J. Blige, Real Love?
Yeah. Let's play some Mary J. Let's give Mary J some love.
You gotta do the Mary J. Blige kick with it. You gotta do that sideways kick she be doing.
We're gonna work our way up. There's levels to the love that I have to give. So let's start with just let's listen to some music.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tiana just texted us. She's so high. She said it took me so long to type that. I love it. She is high.
I say it in all caps,
All caps.
Let's get low. Hey, play that too.
Okay.
Play that. Let's play some Mary and play some hard music. How about that?
There we go.
Be into it. All the way, it never stops, all around the world. It's the Kickback Show. DJ Swivel is in the mix. Snitch.
Don't miss a beat. Kick that beat. Follow us on social media at The Kickback Show. Kickback on everything. Yo. The Kickback Show. What's in your cup?
A whole lot of everything, ladies and gentlemen. You know, it's wild how time, how you can lose track of time. You know, and I think one thing that I've taken from last year, being 2020, was to enjoy every moment and not take anything or anybody for granted. And 2020 was definitely a rough year. It started off being a rough year. The moment that we lost the great Kobe Bryant, you know, and
man.
definitely couldn't go through this episode without acknowledging the king. You know, rest in paradise. He's joined the ancestors and all of that, and along with his beautiful daughter Gigi, as well as the 7 others
Yeah.
that were on that flight,
Yeah.
including the pilot and the other family members that lost their lives. And you know, it's wild that it's been a year. I mean, clearly COVID has kind of put us in a little time capsule to where I know myself, I've lost track of time, but you know, I don't think there was a moment that went by where I wasn't reminded of Kobe, of his legacy, the impact that he had in my life just growing up, you know, aspiring to be like him and seeing and really growing up with him.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean? And being able to go to school and talk trash because, hey, my Lakers, my Kobe Bryant, you know what I mean? The guy that I look at as being the big brother that I never had, or my uncle, you know what I mean? Or cousin or whatever, just, you know, he just swept your team, you know what I mean? Or we just, you know, we just got a 3-peat, you know,
Right.
And then came back and did it again, you know what I mean? And then to be able to, you know, to be able to see him transition and see the impact that he had on the world and have murals put up around the city here in LA, you know what I mean, to pay homage. Like it's,
And murals in other countries, man. Like,
Yeah.
it's, you know, all over.
yeah.
You know, they say that we keep coming back until we do what we're supposed to do. And I feel like I just am really grateful for Kobe really teaching us the importance of words and how it's whatever energy we put onto them.
Yeah.
And it's gonna his interviews, that's gonna live forever and it's gonna affect us forever. So I'm grateful those of us that didn't get to live through the Kobe seasons. It's cool watching on YouTube. It ain't the same, but watching on YouTube. But as far as his speeches and his interviews and things like that, that's gonna live forever and it's always gonna hit the same or better. So I'm super grateful for that, I would say.
Yeah, I know for me, like several times throughout the year, just kind of finding myself, like whether I'm seeing a picture or you know, a clip on Instagram, just like, yo, man, like he's really gone. Like even without even seeing something visual, just like, I think, you know, my daughter like touching a basketball and just thinking like, dang, freaking Gigi's gone. You know what I'm saying? Like Kobe's gone. Like, was definitely like crazy to think that is still like a real life scenario.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's real. Like, and you know, I know LeBron said the other day, like, you know, he didn't want to go back to that like headspace when the reporter asked him, like, you know, what his thoughts were like coming up on the anniversary, and it's like, you know, I don't want to think about that headspace either. And I know Vanessa Bryant even put out the statement, like I think a couple weeks ago, like, you know, please don't show anything as far as like the helicopter crash or anything like that to go back to that. You know what I'm saying? Like only show him playing, only show him with his girls, like keep it all positive. So
yeah. And it's important. I know that when it first happened, you know, the Gayle King thing happened and there was a lot of backlash. Like, we're not perfect, but I appreciate y'all for sharing that. And something that Brandy said, it's all about the energy that you leave and the fact that he showed his perseverance and all of that. I think that's going to be what resonates with us forever, and his energy is going to live on. So
yeah, man.
Yeah. As we embark on this 1 year, another year passed. You know what I'm saying?
There it is.
There it is right there. Everything happens for a reason. It's all alignment. We love y'all. We thank you for tuning in. As always, it's The Kickback Show, thekickbackshow.com. And until next time, peace and love.
Deuces.
The Kickback Show.
Yeah.
Tracklife.com.